Well, I think we'll kick off now. I'm assuming that we have both audio and visual to everyone, so please, if it does fail during the proceedings, do let me know by unmuting yourself. I'll not be looking at my email. So again, everyone, you're more than welcome this morning to a fourth in our series of webinars. This time we're talking about the state funding instruments for projects with CeADAR. So has the slide turned now? You can see overview. Yeah, I presume we have. One of the things that happens whenever we're having discussions with companies is that sooner or later the F word comes up, and that is the funding word. And we're very fortunate here in Ireland that there's a range of funding instruments available from the state agencies to facilitate the collaboration between the centre and our member companies. So today I've got just one slide reprising really what CeADAR offers, just to remind you what the demonstrator program is, and then to look at some of the instruments, both the extraordinary ones and the ordinary ones that you have at your disposal. So the CeADAR operates in two ways. One is what we call our open innovation, and the other the closed. The open innovation is our demonstrator program. That's all funded by the funding we get from Enterprise Ireland and the IDA. So that covers our demonstrator program, and part of that is the state-of-the-art reviews. Particularly now during this pandemic time, we've been making those available through a series of webinars. And of course, you're aware of the demonstrator program. On the other hand, we have what's called the closed innovation agenda. And that reflects really the fact that that work is very much bespoke work undertaking for companies on a commercial basis, and often on a one-to-one basis as well, although sometimes actually there can be many consortia pulled together for the closed innovation. But really what we mean by closed innovation means that it isn't open in the same way that our open innovation agenda is, which means that all the work that we do is available equally to all the member companies. And within the closed innovation, there's what's called translational innovation, or sometimes contract research. And as I mentioned, the very important part of that discussion, which happens sooner or later, which is how the work is going to be funded. So looking at our website, you will see that we have a huge range of these demonstrators. There's over 60 now. Those are all proposed by you, our member companies, and we've developed them as proof of concepts that are available for you to take and try. So it's a great way for companies without any financial risk or human resource allocation risk to have access to cutting edge technology. And they're all set up with our help in your premises or as a web service for you to try out and hopefully see value in it, and that will encourage you to pursue that particular line. And these demos cover a very, very broad range. Obviously, a lot of them are founded on machine learning techniques, but they cover natural language processing, which is becoming even more interesting for our members, real-time analytics, satellite-based and satellite image-based analytics, video and image, and cybersecurity particularly. So we've seen an upsurge in interest in all those areas. Those particular topics they don't come from us, they come from you, our members, and they're voted on, and that's what we deliver. So all those are available at no charge. Now, if we have a look at some of what I call the extraordinary funding mechanisms, and by extraordinary I mean these are ones that are available during this time of the COVID-19 crisis. Now, when I put these slides together a few days ago, I didn't realize that the SFI IDA Rapid Response Call was announced to be closing this week, tomorrow, in fact, Friday. Both of these calls, the one from the Health Research Board and the other one from the consortium of SFI and the IDA, are meant to tackle challenges in our response, our national response to COVID-19. Yesterday, the Taoiseach announced the successful proposals under the HRB called. There may actually be another one of those. That's why I've left it up there. I don't know. The other one from SFI closes tomorrow. It has been massively oversubscribed, and there is talk of a relaunch of that later with perhaps maybe more directed challenges. But as it stands at the moment, they're still open, and we are working with several of our member companies to put in proposals for that. Just to let you know that in working with CeADAR, we come at no cost to you on that. And if you're a small company in the definition by EI, you're eligible to be funded to the tune of 45% for these R&D projects, and it's on a sliding scale up to the multinationals. But it's definitely worth keeping an eye on those for the next call. Now, I'm sure some of you are great fans and advocates of Lady Gaga. You probably are aware that her keyboardist, who is called Rocket Parsons, invented this huge 360-degree keyboard that has almost 300 keys on it. It's called the Rocket Ship, and that's a very innovative instrument. And by the same tune, we are talking now about the funding instruments for innovation that are available to us, and there are 6 that we'll be briefly introducing today. Contract, research, innovation vouchers and partnerships, the DTIF, Disruptive Technologies Innovation Fund, which is a significant state investment, the Marie Curie Career Fit Fellowships, and lastly, the Work Ready Graduate Program. So those are the 6 that we'll be talking about today, and are well used by our members in CeADAR. So if we have a look first at what we call translational research, contract innovation. So basically, this is companies approaching us with a specific challenge that they are looking to have solved. So if we just summarize it in terms of the euro value of them, it's very much dependent on the scope of work and the duration. Some of the contract research work that we do is maybe 1 or 2 months. It's a very quick dive into something to prove a particular concept. Others, the longest I think we've ever had has been a year long, but that was quite an outlier. One of the attractive things about this particular type of engagement is that the IP is completely owned by the company. The duration of it is obviously whatever is required by the scope of work. The engagement is very much set by the company themselves. So we act as a contract R&D organization and obviously there isn't any support available for the funding agencies for that. So the next one, which is quite a popular funding mechanism, particularly so among the SME community, is the innovation voucher. And the purpose of these vouchers is to build links, collaborative links between what are called public knowledge providers, so that's organizations such as CeADAR, universities, and small businesses. So a company can have one live voucher at any one time, and they are worth €5,000. And you'll see there on the upper right-hand side, this is the letter that you get from Enterprise Ireland. It looks like one of the premium bond certificates to say that it's worth 5,000. Now, the problem with that is that you can't bring it into your local centre and buy groceries to the tune of 5,000. It can only be cashed in with what's called a knowledge provider such as CeADAR. So I was just checking there yesterday. I think we have got 6 of those innovation vouchers. We're working on 6 of those innovation vouchers at the moment, and that's fairly typical. They're very easy to get. The process has been massively simplified by Enterprise Ireland recently. There's an online application form, which is open all year round. So you submit your case, and there's only the briefest of information required on it. and within about 2 weeks, you should receive the innovation voucher, and then you're free to cash it in with whoever you like, hopefully with ourselves. So if we look at what the innovation vouchers give, there are 2 types. There's the standard innovation voucher, which is €5,000. A company can have 2 of those, but you can't have them at the same time. You have to complete one, then you apply for another one and get that. So effectively, you can get €10,000 there. The IP, interestingly, is owned by the company. Typically, the value of that work covers several weeks. The initial brainstorming that we have with the companies is probably three or 4 workshops, and then the work that we do in conjunction with the company. Again, it's very much company driven, and the funding agencies fund 100% of the 5,000, although the companies are eligible to, or must pay the VAT on the voucher. Now, let's say if a company has used its allocation of the 2 innovation vouchers, so that's €10,000, there's 1 remaining voucher that you can have, or you can use it at any time. You don't necessarily have to wait till you use the 2 up. And that's called a co-funded innovation voucher, and its value is up to €10,000. So Enterprise Ireland will match the contribution of the company up to a maximum of 5K. And again, similar to the innovation voucher stuff, the IP is owned by the company, but because of the fact that it's a much larger sum, the duration of those co-funded vouchers can be months long. And again, funded 50% by Enterprise Ireland there, the 10,000, and the agenda is company driven. Another instrument available from the state, both from Enterprise Ireland for its client companies and from the IDA client companies, which are obviously the multinationals, is the Innovation Partnership, and that is an extremely popular mechanism and funds a lot of the work that we do with companies. Now, the Innovation Partnership is for companies based in Ireland, and as the slide says there, that have particular challenges to meet or problems to solve. Again, with all these things, there are different types of them. There's one called an Express Innovation Partnership, which is worth up to €85,000. That's specifically geared towards SMEs. And as its name suggests, the Express part means that it's turned around, I think, in 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks is the target for that. So it's a rapid response to that. Now, the typical innovation voucher is bigger than that, and that will run to hundreds of thousands of euro. Typically, with us, what we're seeing is that can be anywhere from 250K up to, let's say, 350K. But if a consortium forms around a particular challenge, Enterprise Ireland have given out up to €1 million to the consortium under the aegis of the Innovation Partnership. So it's a very flexible and generous funding mechanism. The IP in this case is handled slightly differently because of the extent of state funding. In fact, actually up to 80%. The IP is licensed from the university. Now, with all of these things, it's always best to get the licensing terms and conditions sorted out well in advance. And that's the process that we engage. So once the work is scoped, then there's a discussion to be had with the technology licensing office to actually determine how the IP will be licensed, so that is decided and agreed upfront. So it's a bit like a prenup agreement. The duration of these innovation partnerships can be anything from 1 to 2 years. Typically, what we see is that they are 1 year, possibly up to 1.5. We haven't seen any longer than that. The engagement model is very much collaborative, with us doing the R&D innovation and translating that into the technical staff in the company. So it is very much a hand-in-hand relationship. It's not that we go away for a period of 1 year, and then at the end of the year, present the solution to you. It succeeds best when the two parties have a very close working relationship, and we encourage our own staff to come and be assigned on customer premise for part of the time, and we welcome, by the same token, company employees coming and working in CeADAR, perhaps maybe for half a day a week or whatever is appropriate. In terms of the support available from the funding agencies, it is up to 80% of the costs. Irrespective of the type of innovation voucher, whether it's an innovation partnership, irrespective of whether it's an express innovation partnership or whether it's one of the bigger ones, the company must always fund 20% in cash of the innovation partnership. The application process is a two-stage. You'll see it in the little graphic there on the lower right-hand side. There's an outline proposal goes in first, so that is written by us in conjunction with the company. So we have to justify as it says there, the commercial logic, that it fits within the program, and that there's a good match between what the RPO, the Research Performing Organisation, like us in the company, require. So that goes into Enterprise Ireland. It's then approved, hopefully, and then the next stage is that the outline proposal is expanded into what's called a full proposal. So the development advisor, in the case of Enterprise Ireland, or the client manager, if it's an IDA company, does a commercial assessment. The IPP team then looks after the bureaucratic side of that. There's also a technical assessor will come out from EI IDA, not only to talk to us, but also to talk to the company. And usually those interviews last maybe an hour and a half, just for them to get a feel for how good the matches between the two companies, between CeADAR and the company, to understand how achievable the goals are, and to see that there are the appropriate mechanisms in place to allow the technology transfer to happen. So all that is bundled then into a committee within Enterprise Ireland called the IRCC, which meets every month, and that hopefully will be approved, and then the funding will go to that. So that's the innovation partnership. And I just wanted now to give you some examples of the work that we've done with companies in innovation partnership. As I say, it is very, very popular, obviously, because of the fact that it's funded to such an extent. So I've picked out 6 examples. I could have picked out many more, and there was no particular logic to this, only to show you the breadth of the work that we do. One of the innovation partnerships we did was to using machine learning to predict the failures of industrial pumps and valves. So that's predicting their failure months in advance. So it allows a very graceful preventative maintenance schedule to be instituted. And it's also very much fundamental to the initiative, which is called the Industry 4.0. We were employed by a company as well to undertake turbine performance and failure analysis as well, using machine learning. We work with an analytics company to develop a significant tool in their suite of analytics that they offer to companies based on customer segmentation. Another company we work with is in the area of the dispatch of field service technicians. You know, it's the old problem of if you have X number of service technicians and you've got X number of, let's say, washing machines that you have to repair across Ireland at any given day, you have to assign a technician to each, and to make sure that they're able to accomplish all the repairs that are scheduled for them in a particular day and be able to get back home at night time. So that product actually is quite a success story, because the company now is a market-leading solution compared to what they had in the past. So it's a great marketing message to give out. We've also worked with several multinationals. One that I picked out here was in optimizing production lines and to improve quality of the product and reduce the rejects. And we've got several projects in the world of what's called precision agriculture. One in particular is working in again, with an Irish company who manufacture agricultural equipment. So we've sensored up these grass cutters, and from that, the sensors are able to detect the quality of the grass, the nutritional content, the quality of the soil as the tractor is driving over the land. And as you can see there, there's a heat map produced of the quality of the grass in the field. So it allows the farmer to be able to spot apply fertilizer rather than having to, let's say, apply it over the whole field, whether it needs it or not. So that's an example of, although there are 6 examples rather, of innovation partnerships, but we undertake those in every and any areas. So another tool to talk to you about now is what's called the DTIF, the Disruptive Technologies Innovation Fund. It was set up a year and a half ago by the Department of Business and Enterprise. And the whole purpose of it was to really bring companies and research performing organizations like ourselves together to exploit disruptive technologies and to foster that collaborative or collaboration between companies and RPOs as well. The DTIF was launched to great fanfare. The total pot available is €500 million, which is a significant investment by the state. The second call was last year, and the results were announced just at the turn of the year. That was called DTIF Call 2. Call 3, now despite the fact that we've got obviously extraordinary conditions at the moment, but I would expect Call 3 to come out in the autumn of this year with the results announced probably around December time. So it's worth having this on your radar because it's a very generous pot. Now, if you can see there, the criteria in Call 2 may or may not be the same for Call 3, but if we have a quick look just at what was the eligibility criteria, the total sum requested had to be at least €1.5 million over 3 years. The consortium, the minimum number of companies in the consortium is 3. One had to be an SME and one other enterprise partner, so that could be an SME or a multinational. And you may or may not have an organization like CeADAR in it, but obviously that would strengthen the case if you did. And so companies actually have 50% of the eligible costs covered by the scheme, and the other 50% obviously will be in kind. The organizations, you'll see RPOs, research performing organizations, we'll see there as one, can claim up to 100% of the costs. So that means that in a consortium, if you bring in CeADAR, you bring us in at zero cost for that. So if we have a look now at the summary table on the left there, the minimum value, as I've said, is €1.5 million. But looking at the awards that were given out, the maximum funding is topping out at about 10 million. The IP is handled, again, slightly differently. It's separate and joint ownership between the partners. Duration up to 3 years. It's a collaborative model, and the company gets 50% of the costs covered, and CeADAR comes in free. So if we have a look now at examples of where CeADAR has been successful with this in the 2 calls that have been since the fund was set up. In the first one, we secured a €1 million project for use of blockchain in digital asset supply chains. So that was along with Exertis and Sonolate. And there, just at the turn of the year, we secured 3 million in RegTech, or regulatory technology. So this is using text analytics for financial regulation. And that was a consortium of ourselves, along with Corlytics and Single Point. And if you keep your eye on the news, you've probably seen that Single Point have been bought out by Version 1, another Irish company. So the other one that I wanted to mention to you, and this is quite an extraordinary instrument at your disposal. It's extraordinary because of the fact that it costs companies absolutely zero, and yet is a very, very valuable tool. We have 21 of these Marie Curie Sklodowska Curie fellowships. So what does this give you as a company? Well, basically, you get a person who is a postdoc who will have a PhD in, let's say, machine learning, AI, analytics, who's been a postdoc doing research for several years. They're probably in their late 20s, early 30s. So a lot of experience. And that person works exclusively with the company for 3 years on a project that's jointly defined by the company and by the fellow. Typically, what we've been doing with the 21 that we have is that the fellow works 3 days in CeADAR a week and 2 days with the company. Now, that's the model that seems to work well. The other model that can be applied is that the fellow works, let's say, solidly for the first year in CeADAR, then 1 full year out with the company, and then 1 full year back in CeADAR. But throughout the program, there has to be a minimum of a year spent with the company. Now, these fellowships are very prestigious across Europe. They're very sought after. And they come with a significant value attached to them because the salary for the fellow is higher than usual, and there's a strong training budget and also an equipment budget associated with it. So in total, it's all worth $250,000 each. The IP is licensed from the university very much in the same way as an innovation partnership is arranged, and that is all set up at the very beginning, so there's no misunderstanding down the road. The duration is for 3 years. It's a collaborative engagement model. Obviously, we work with the fellow and the company very, very closely. And amazingly, the costs, 100% of them are covered by the agency, whether that's EI or the IDA. And as I mentioned there, we've been very successful with these. We've got 21 so far, and there's no doubt that with the companies, they really give the companies a great innovative boost with having a person of such high caliber assigned to their work basically for 3 years. And also you get the benefit of the CeADAR association with it as well. So the very last one that I wanted to mention to you today, because I can see we're rapidly running out of time, is the Work Ready Graduate Program. We ran this last year for the first time. It was a pilot for Enterprise Ireland, and we were granted funding again this year for the second phase of the pilot. And we are hoping that will start in September, all things being equal. So what is the Work Ready Graduate Program? So it's a 1-year structured program, and by structured I mean that CeADAR organizes accredited courses for the students to attend to upskill 10 post-MSc graduates. So these are people who have got an MSc in analytics or AI already. So they've got very solid academic foundations, but what they lack is exposure in a work environment. So really that's what we do. We give them rather, along with 10 companies, 10 EI client SMEs. So we hire these 10 people for a year. We put them through the structured program. They liaise with their host companies to define the project they work on in collaboration with CeADAR, and in between the structured courses that they attend in CeADAR, they work with the company under CeADAR supervision. So you get a CeADAR supervisor, plus you also get this post-MSc graduate. So the value of those in total is approximately 47,000 each. The IP is again owned by the company, which makes it very attractive. Duration 1 year. Typically, these work-ready graduates work with the company between 8 and 9 months of the year. The engagement model, very much company-driven. In other words, the company sets the challenge that the person works on. And Enterprise Ireland funds this program to the tune of 70%. So the company has to put 30%. So if I do a quick mental maths on that, so 30% of 47, you're probably talking maybe about I don't know, 13,500, 14,000 per annum. But for that, you get this high caliber individual for a year. We source them and select them. And you also get CeADAR collaborating with you actually on the challenge. So in summary then, this is a table of all those instruments that I've talked about. Hopefully that presents it in an accessible way. But so as they often say on the TV, if you've been affected by any of the issues raised in this program, please email me at that address at the bottom of the screen, and I'd be only too happy to elaborate on any of those programs or actually engage you on them as well. So that is it, as they say. Are there any quick questions? I know that I've slightly overrun there, so you might like to unmute yourself and ask me a question.